To this now, youth unemployment rate sits at a whopping 60.7% in South Africa. Concerns about the country's future workers have prompted several programs to try tackle the problem. One of them was the presidential employment stimulus. Since it launched in October 2020, it's created over 1 million opportunities for young people. Now the program is under threat. It is set to come to an end in March next year, unless National Treasury decides to keep it going. Youth advocacy group Youth Capital is calling on government to extend the program. It says young people are the engine of our economy. I'm joined now by Crystal Duncan-Williams. She is the project leader at Youth Capital. Crystal, thank you very much for your time. Clearly, I mean, 1.2 million job opportunities for young people between 2020 and now is not a small number. Why do you think it's not a priority if it's working so well, this stimulus?
I think the presidential employment stimulus was framed as a response to COVID. And so obviously people are of the mind, well, COVID is past now and things are back to normal. But I think what we need to really think about is what parts of the program have served a greater good. The youth unemployment rate was increasing before COVID hit. It's gotten worse. The latest census data that came out yesterday show that we have an even bigger youth bulge than we thought, which means the numbers of young people not in employment, education or training, again, is even higher than we thought. And so we need to reframe our thinking and say, even though these programs were a response to COVID, they actually are for the betterment of young people through giving them some work experience. And when you look at programs like the Basic Education Employment Initiative, the largest program targeting youth within the stimulus, we see that you also get improved learner outcomes by having additional human resources in schools. And so it really seems like a no-brainer to continue to fund this program, but we need to shift our thinking around what is this program and why it's so important for young people and for schools.
Especially after yesterday, Crystal, where we found out that our population increased by at least about 10 million since 2011.
Yeah. And, if you look at the population pyramids in the census data, you see that the youth bulge is substantial. And so, more young people means that the scale of the problem of unemployment is great. And there are no single solutions or silver bullets. And, this stimulus is not the only answer, but it is a step in the right direction. It is the only program that has reached all corners of the country. Imagine every single public school in the country has had a teaching assistant. And that, is in real rural areas, places far removed from city centers, where there are, essentially job deserts. There's really nothing for young people. And so even though these are short-term opportunities, it's giving young people a first work experience, which might set them up to make, a next step, which gets them on the right path, whether that's to go and study to be a teacher and accessing the Kunzula Shaka bursary, whether that's through, leaving the rural area and moving into towns and cities to access further work opportunities, or taking the money that they got from the Teachers Assistance Program and putting that back into a side hustle and really trying to make that a small business for themselves. These are stories we've heard from young people. We know these are things that are happening as a result of the stimulus. We cannot afford to lose funding now. The program's only been around for 3 years. It's done a lot. It's been nimble. It's been agile. We have to keep learning from it. But in order to do that, we need sustained funding, earmarked and ring-fenced for the program.
So clearly it's one of those examples that we can use to show that if there is a government that's willing, it's possible.
Absolutely. I've been blown away by the interdepartmental cooperation. We often say government departments don't work well together. Well, the presidency and the Department of Basic Education pulled off a real incredible feat in that first phase to place 300,000 young people in schools within just a few months. Obviously it's not perfect and it's not without its issues, which we spoke about at the time as Youth Capital. But they've iterated, they've learned phase on phase, and now we really need to get strong M&E into the program to show the returns on investment, to show where maybe improvements can be made, to strengthen partnerships that are beginning to form between government and the private sector, looking at exit pathways for young people once they exit the program. But again, we can only continue to build this if the funding is guaranteed in the long term.
And I mean, looking at how much was spent, 32.6 billion rand so far in terms of this, but there's huge return if you continue with such a project, right? Because at least more of your youth is employed, even if some of the jobs are part-time, at least people are, their lives are changing at a certain moment and they're getting job, experience.
Absolutely. The ask for just the Social Employment Fund and the Basic Education Employment Initiative is 10 billion for 1 year of operation, which is really not a lot of money in 1 year. And you're getting double return on your investment here. As you say, young people getting some work experience, getting some money in their pocket that they put back into the local economy. But at the same time, when you look at the Teacher's Assistant Program, we're getting improved learner outcomes. In classes where you have 50 learners to one teacher, you suddenly have an extra adult in the classroom to help with reading, to help with basic literacy and numeracy, which we know is a serious problem. So really for that spend, you're getting a double return on your investment, as a minimum. And it really seems like a no-brainer to continue to fund this program.
How important and how easy can it be, Crystal, for government to turn those type of jobs, like for instance what you mentioned with teachers? We've been told that in South Africa we produce about 15,000 teachers a year when we're supposed to actually produce 25,000. There are many vacancies that are left without being filled for many years. There's also, for instance, even nursing, etc. How important is it that this stimulus continues and hopefully the private sector is able to assist government to make sure that these positions are made permanent?
We know from reliable sources within the Department of Basic Education and a presentation they recently gave that if they look at PASAL, the government employer payroll system, they can see 8,000 of the 800,000 young people who have come through the program are now permanently employed within the Department of Basic Education. So we can see, I know that's a small number, but we can see that these are young people who had some kind of education certificate or post-school certificate, and they did the program and are now, working in the sector. I think it's really important because often what happens is young people go and study something, whether it's to be a teacher or a lawyer or whatever it is, without actually understanding what the job entails. And sometimes, NSFAS pays for a young person, they study it and they realize that this is not for them and they never actually practice as a teacher or lawyer or whatever it is. This program is a great chance for young people to see, do I actually want to be in the classroom? We've had young people say it's been fantastic. We've had other young people say, well, actually, I prefer to do the administrative side of things and not be in the classroom. And that's great. We all have skills and talents and things that we're good at and enjoy. And so this, a couple of months of exposure gives young people a real sense of where to go next. Maybe it's not being in the classroom, and then you know that, and you can go and do your entrepreneurship route or whatever it might be, but you're learning transferable skills that really help make that next opportunity more sticky, whatever it might be.
All right, Crystal, thank you very much for your time. Crystal Duncan Williams is the project lead at Youth Capital.